the money.
Here we go. Money talk.
Here comes the money. Money, 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 money.
Dollar, dollar.
Now, with this particular conversation, I'm not sure if we're going to say here comes the money or here goes the money. On this Money Monday, right here on Power Lunch, 2:10 is the time. And joining us on the line is Mmamasedi, Manthoko, leadership coach with a focus on emotional intelligence, a business strategist and thought leader. We're also going to be in conversation with business coach and financial resilience strategist Phuti Mphelo. And we're speaking about the economics of alcohol and partying culture. That's why I said, we are not sure if it will actually be a matter of here comes the money or there goes the money in this instance, because we know very well that South Africa has one of the highest levels of alcohol consumption on the continent, and beyond the health debate lies another pressing reality, the financial cost of buying alcohol. For many young professionals and students, nightlife and partying culture are major monthly expenses, often competing with essentials like rent, savings, or debt repayments. From bottle service at clubs and Instagram-driven soft life culture to the booming tavern and township economies, alcohol and partying are more than just leisure. They are now becoming an economic force. And joining us on the line to discuss the effects of alcohol, not just on your health, but also on your budget, we speak to financial coach, business coach and financial resilience strategist Phuti Mphelo, and we also then speak to life coach Sedi, Mmamasedi, Manthoko, and we speak to them, of course, about this terrible situation where we have so many people that drink and spend so much money on the alcohol. Phuti and Sedi, good afternoon. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Tshego. Thanks for having me.
So let's start.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Let's start with you, Phuti. In your experience, how does spending on alcohol and partying sabotage that long-term financial goals like retirement, property ownership, or just wanting to build your own wealth?
Sheesh, that's a big question. But more than anything, it's just you're substituting money, because it's money out, right? It's money that you could be using for what you mentioned, investing, saving, or whatever, that's going out for alcohol, which is instant. It feels good sometimes, dopamine hit, and it's gone. Literally, it's gone. In less than 24 hours, sometimes it's out of your system, and you never see that money. And just so I don't get attacked and all sorts of things, there's nothing wrong with the occasional alcohol, drinking out with friends. But I think the problem becomes when this is a lifestyle. Because then that habit of continuously spending 500 a weekend, 2,000 rand a weekend, I mean, you can do the math. How much is that in a month? How much is that in a year? How much is that in 5 years? You see, that is where it becomes a problem. When it's at the cost of things that you could be buying to secure a better future.
And indeed, we're not saying that there's anything with the occasional drink now and then. It's when it starts to affect your lifestyle, but also starts, I suppose, to also affect your financial wealth, Phuti, and that's where you're also coming from in this very instance. So how do people, in the work that you do, have you seen that people do not budget much when it comes to the spending of alcohol or going out?
Of course. Some people do. They'll say, this is my weekend budget, say 200 rand. But at the end of the month, it's sitting on 4,000 rand. So most people, it's very few people who will plan for it to say, I spend 500 every month for the fun and the alcohol, and that's it. Very few. It takes a lot of discipline to be able to do that. It takes a lot of saying no to your friends, to your family, or whatever, right? Most times, people don't even think about that. We're just going to spend as long as when I swipe, there's no decline, I'm continuing. Tomorrow will sort itself out. The YOLO, you live once.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the habit. Unfortunately, that's human nature. It's human nature because it feels good. Remember, it also, the more I'm seen hanging out, socializing, being the one who buys drinks for everyone and rounds for everyone, that is social acceptance one. And that is, you're managing that natural fear that people have, which is the fear of rejection. And like I said, the rewards are instant. Whereas if I say put this money away for in 5 years, in 10 years, it could appreciate or you could sell this property. That's uncertainty. You're not even sure that's ever going to happen. You're not even sure you're still going to be alive, you see. But this being accepted today is now. I get the likes on Instagram. I get the next invite. I get the, oh, he's the man or she's the girl. That's immediate. The dopamine is immediate and it feels good. And the body or the brain craves more.
So, Sedi, when you listen to Phuti saying people want the now effect, why is it that people do then turn to alcohol and partying as a form of identity, wanting that effect to be a now and for them to feel happy now and not thinking about, the future and what will happen tomorrow? But what does it also say about the culture of South Africans?
Thank you, Tshego, and thanks, Phuti. I picked up a lot of what you were saying, very, very true. And just to echo Phuti's sentiments there about perhaps budgeting for it. Even if some would budget for it, they don't stick to it, isn't it so, Phuti? If they were to say, I spend 500 Rand, it ends up being 5,000 because, hey, the dopamine keeps bringing it on. Absolutely. Thanks, Tshego. And why do people do that? It's called behavioral addiction, to be honest with you. Many people turn to alcohol and partying as a way to feel seen, to feel accepted, be validated. Phuti also mentioned some of these in her comments. Now, especially in our culture today, we find a lot of social status being tied to lifestyle performance. It's more so prevalent. And in a culture that equates external displays of fun and financial power with personal worth, the party scene, this space becomes a stage to prove your value, to feel valid, to feel seen, to be appreciated, even to an extent you could say to be worshipped somewhat, yeah? So this reflects a real culture hunger that is not just for joy, but really for belonging, even if it is temporary. And many people will say this. Many people will say, I shouldn't be doing this. I don't know what I'm going to eat tomorrow, but hey, this feels good. I feel important in the moment. So this behavioral addiction is really about this repeated pattern of behavior, which gives you that instant gratification, that dopamine reinforcement loop. And it's a loop because you want more of that because it really does feel good. So the culture that is showing is that there is really a lot that is lurking in the surface, beneath the surface. People are actually crying out for attention, for belonging, to fit in.
Would you then say, Sedi, that people are trying to fill a psychological void when they overspend on alcohol or on their nightlife?
Absolutely, Tshego. There's a lot that people are hiding, and alcohol and the nightlife and the life that comes with it. Not only is it dopamine, but there's also adrenaline. Yeah, there's also this social acceptance, this fitting in. It doesn't matter what I look like. When I can provide, I can buy for my friends. I can provide for the girl that I like across the bar, for instance. Then I can be accepted, right? And people are hiding a lot of unprocessed emotions. So definitely the psychological void is there. There are existential emptiness that people are struggling with, where people want a place to feel alive. It's borrowed aliveness, to be honest, because when it ends, like Phuti was saying, when it ends, so does the feeling. And right back where we started, loneliness and connected spaces is what people are craving for, because here I will connect anyone and everyone. There are people like me. Yeah. There's also an aspect of perfection pressure. When you are always expected to be on, the party becomes your only sanctioned off space. And it's not about recreation. It's about a subtle protest against the role you are forced to play. Because in this space, I can just be what I want to be. I don't have to put on a mask. I don't have to fit in anybody's expectation and really ultimately it boils down to a mental health struggle. That is the psychological void and issues.
There's also Phuti, and Sedi, you can also respond to this. But Phuti, I'm going to allow you to please go first on this one, where we are seeing that some households prioritize buying alcohol. So at the end of the month, even though they've got a budget for, their going out budget, so to speak. I mean, I met up with a friend yesterday and she says to me, her entertainment budget is so low. And I was like, sure, that's quite impressive, But some people don't prioritize that entertainment budget over the necessities of life. Food, things that are going to sustain you, savings for later on in life. And some people even go as far as prioritizing that over what they may need medically sometimes, Phuti. What does that reveal about South Africa's financial behavior? And what would then be the best way to break cycles such as that?
That's what you just said. More than anything, Tshego, is as Sedi has been saying, there's a lot of social belonging. There's a lot of, filling in voids, escapism. Because that talks to in Sepedi ba re batho ba imetswe, people are just carrying a lot. People are dealing with a lot of things. And for me, I think in the culture, we're so used to dealing with just the surface things, what it looks like, not necessarily interested in going deeper to understand. As Sedi said, there's usually underlying issues, right? One. But secondly, more than anything, is the messaging. Right? We're bombarded with messages of an advertising of alcohol. And, if you watch an alcohol ad, you're the man or you're the girl, you're looking beautiful. And that's it's pulling onto people's heartstrings, right? Oh, I want to look like that woman, on that yacht. You've seen those alcohol ads, right? Being the girl of the night or the girl of the moment or whatever it is. So that's another thing. When I say there's so much distraction, and messaging, constant messaging, that makes this lifestyle normal. And for some people, it becomes something to look up to or to aspire to become or to be a part of, versus the messaging of saving for the long term, prioritizing your budget, holding back for a few years so that in 2 or 3 or 10 years, you've got 4 or 5 properties for investment, you see. So there's also that aspect. Yes, it's human nature and it's dopamine hits and it's adrenaline, but the society and the media space, sorry to mention that, advertisers, the messages that you see the most are these type of lifestyle, living the nightlife messaging. And it's not about, they're not telling you how much that bottle costs. For you aspire to what? The emotion. How will I feel? What will they say about me? I'm now cool. I'm no longer the geek. Do you see? So there's also that other side, the double-edged sword that people have to manage.
Sedi?
Yes, 100% echo that. And the emotion being the driver, very important to notice that when the feeling is in the driver's seat, everything else is gone. And this is how we are wired. Our neurology is like that. The brain is designed like that, that when the emotions take over, then everything else falls away. While Phuti talks about with people saving, maybe you could end up owning so many properties. Some people would sit on the sideline and think, I spent 500 rand. How am I going to have 3 properties from 500 rand, 2,000 rand? The truth is, it adds up, and the feeling in the moment makes you forget. The feeling in the moment takes that out of perspective, makes it difficult for you to connect that, because the emotions really are powerful. With the emotions is they help you decide, or they dictate, in fact, the behavior that will follow. And that is why emotional intelligence is such a big aspect of what we need to learn, that the person needs to be bigger than their emotion. They are your emotions. And when you are in control of it, then you are firstly aware, then you are empowered to respond differently. And that is the really a big part of what the education should be about with people today.
Mm-hmm. And so, when we look at things like I want to buy a whole cupboard full of alcohol, does that also speak, Sedi, to the peer pressure and, the societal expectations that we might have in our friends and the people that we relate to?
Yeah, absolutely, Tshego, because we are connected beings, we are social beings, we're not islands. And at the root of this pressure is a big human need, the desire to belong. When we look at this desire to belong, we trace it back to caveman age, where a caveman, if they were not part of a society, it was so painful it could cause them death. That is how painful it can be, or how detrimental feeling isolated can be to a person. And earlier on, I was listening into the previous conversation with Lelo. She spoke about people pleasing, people having psychological implications, unrealistic standards. Quite telling, to show that indeed this peer pressure, the pressure to fit in, the pressure to belong into a certain clique that holds a certain standard, a certain status, in fact. Not even a standard per se, but a status. And choosing, rather than saying no and choosing not to overspend, can feel like you are rejecting the group, or you are in essence saying to the group, you can go ahead and reject me. People don't want that. In club culture, inclusion is very performative. You are valued as your ability to spend, to show up, to flex, right? We see those sparkling, I call them starlights. In my day, they were starlights. I don't know what they're called today. But it tells you, right? You're only as valued as your ability to spend, as your ability to show up. And for us to really turn and change the narrative and identify with self and be comfortable with yourself and not conform to the social expectations, it starts with redefining what belonging means. And that is dictated to this day, as Phuti was saying, social media, those highlight reels, those Instagram posts, those TikTok posts, those statuses. So there's a lot of pressure that we are receiving from there. But you know what else? While we're seeing these things there's something else that we are missing. We don't know what is lacking. We don't know the truth behind what we are trying to compare and match ourselves against. And that is what perpetuates this nightlife and continuous mental health issues and psychosocial issues that we are finding today.
In conversation with Sedi, Mmamasedi, Manthoko, leadership coach, together with Phuti Mphelo, who is a business coach and financial resilience strategist, as we speak about this culture in South Africa of buying alcohol and perhaps over purchasing alcohol, the economics of alcohol and the partying culture in South Africa. We'll continue the conversation with the ladies in a short while as we go to news headlines. You are more than welcome as well to get in touch with us on 0861 987 000. Let's get your take on this very matter, Power Family. Are you finding that you're spending a little bit too much on the alcohol, or did you stop actually drinking alcohol because you realized that you were overspending and it was getting out of hand? You can also drop us an X at PowerFM987 at Tshego Moagi_. It's 2:30.
Get in touch with Tshego on X at Tshego Moagi_.
14:35 on Power 98.7. We are in conversation with Phuti Mphelo, who is a business coach and financial resilience strategist, together with Sedi, Mmamasedi Manthoko, a leadership coach, as we speak about this culture, or this economics rather of alcohol and the partying culture and the effects that it has on you financially on this Money Monday. Remember that you can engage with us on WhatsApp. The voice note, the number for your voice notes is 083-303-7093. You can also drop us an X at PowerFM987 at Tshego Moagi _ or send us, of course, on that WhatsApp line. You can also send us a text. That is also more than welcome. 0861987000 is the number to dial. Let's take a listen to this WhatsApp voice notes regarding this very conversation that we are having this afternoon.
Hi, Tshego. Mantla here from Victoria.
Hello, Mantla.
I think your topic needs to have some context. Nari Nola Black Label. It is an affordable drink. The beer, not the whiskeys. But there are people that drink some expensive whiskeys and, I don't know, these funny drinks, lady drinks particularly. Nari Nola Black Label. Let's put some context there.
And I'm glad that he's also laughing about it because it might be an affordable drink, Phuti, and he's thinking, financially doesn't take too much out of his pocket. But in the long run, there will be those, problems that he might face.
I like it. Thank you, caller. I didn't get the name, but listen to this, ne? Nari Nwela Black Label. What does that talk to? It's a like Nari Nwela. You understand that culture. There's a certain people who drink Black Label who think, okay, Nari sharp. You understand?
Yeah.
So it's always about belonging. When you're socializing just means that you belong to some form of a tribe or a pack so that's what we're trying to manage. To say there's nothing wrong with the Black Label or whatever, right? Can you afford to? And if I drink the expensive girl drinks, as he puts it, can I afford it? Maybe I make 100,000 rand a year or a month, and my whiskey cost or my whiskey budget is 5,000 rand a month, right? In percentage form, how much is that? And maybe I'm buying these expensive girl alcohol, as he says it, but I'm sorted. I've got properties, I've got investments. My basics are in place, and I think that's what we need to start monitoring as a people. What percentage of your fund budget is it in relation to your means? You see, and let's stop looking down on people because they're drinking cheap alcohol or expensive alcohol or whatever. But I think what I'm trying to pull from this is it's always about a culture. What culture? What a belonging? That's what I meant to say. What are you? What status? Sedi mentioned it. It's a status thing. So, hacking not Black Label Nari Nwela the Black Label. What message am I sending across to me and to people who are watching? If I'm drinking the fancy alcohol, what message am I sending about my status to me and to other people? Do you see how then it becomes a bigger conversation? Not necessarily about the rands and cents, one, and number two, it's about priorities. Yes, let's belong, let's have fun, but at what cost? Is it costing you your future freedom? Is it costing you your mental well-being? Is it costing you financial well-being? Let's come down and really put it, in that way. Can you even afford to pay for that?
Sedi, would you like to add? Yeah.
Yes, please. Thanks, Tshego. Also, very much in the balance is the question about what are you sacrificing? What is that at the expense of? And there is also a fine balance between indulging and over-indulgence. There's also a question about what are you masking? So we're inviting curiosity here to say, when you are engaging in these behaviors, reflect and see, is this balanced? It has very little to do with the rands and cents, absolutely. Well, it's got a lot to do with it, but it's got little to do with the value. Can I put it like that? With the value of the drink or the product we are getting. In fact, sometimes it's not only about alcohol. Some people engage in other stimulants, including your weed, including your drugs, and so forth. And some of these people don't even take alcohol. So the question is about, what is this doing to you? Why are you doing it? What are you masking? Are you perhaps engaging so that you can escape something. And that becomes a bigger question, because no matter how much money you have or how little you have, if you are escaping, you are escaping.
If you're escaping, no matter what it is. On X, Mutsepe says, what I know is that when a person says, Patala, reta transfer in the morning, it's a scam. Don't do it. Chelete spent at Grooves never comes back. And he says, I consume SAB products, but I'm not a brand loyalist. I buy what's on promotion. I mean, does that really make a financial difference? I suppose for him, because if he's not buying, a specific brand, Sedi, he can maybe just decide, you know what, I'm not overspending perhaps on this month. I'm spending less because I don't have a loyal brand.
By all means. And again, fundamentally, at the bottom of it, what is the driver? What exactly is behind this behavior? People might be so addicted to this that they don't even notice it. And those are addictions that are not really much in your face. People might be thinking, in order for me to be called an alcohol addict, then it means I can't go a day without drinking, or I drink so much that I can't breathe when I haven't had a drink, and. But there are a lot of these other subtleties that are actually addictive behavior. So while Renwadi Black Label and Shame, I'm going to be hanging on to that voice note because it was quite descriptive. What are we saying there? Are we balanced? If we're balanced, good. If we know that this is recreation and we have it's got its place, recreation is in its place, economic is in its place, life is in its place, work is in its place, and I know where I'm at, headspace, psychologically, and all of me, then that's good. But then if something is missing and we got some sense of incongruency, then we really need to dig deep and find out what needs repairing.
Let's take a call from Stephen. That is Stephen in Pretoria West. And that is Stephen, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Tshego. I just wanted to throw something that might not be related to that. But now I have been actually asking myself many times, why is only alcohol being regarded or as something that is living? Because among all other things that goes into our stomach, I have never come across to any other product that is being classified as abuse. But the alcohol abuse, is that term not actually the one that is actually also influencing people to can regard the alcohol as something that is living? Or is it because of the economic contribution that the industry is bringing into this, where it is being in par with actually being classified as human beings? Because we talk about human abuse, children abuse, men abuse, anything. But now the alcohol abuse, it's not a living thing. Is there no competition commissioner can actually look at this term, abuse, the word abuse in this alcohol, maybe to make us realize that we don't have got to adapt to the world. We must make the world adapt to us.
Interesting point. Thank you for that, Ntate Stephen. Phuti, let me start with you in response to Ntate Stephen's question there.
A very profound point he made, Ntate Stephen. Listen, abuse is abuse. Women abuse, alcohol abuse, food abuse. Abuse is abuse. Abuse, it's abnormal use of something, right? That's one. But two, remember, it's socially accepted to drink, right? I mean, we were linking to the previous comment and Sedi touched on that. Say for some of us who were in corporate, okay, I'm no longer in corporate, but when I was in corporate and I was starting out, Friday nights was for what? For drinks, right? And we were going out. Sometimes the company would have paid, right? We sit and you must show up at those events, right? For an hour or 2 hours, you must show face. And the company sponsoring drinks, right? So that's a socially acceptable, I'll say, drug. I'm sorry, it's not a drug, but you understand, it's a socially acceptable thing to indulge in. So that's one message sent through, and we accept it as normal. Nah? Number 3, there's a lot of money that goes into alcohol. The government makes a lot of money. Private companies make a lot of money. You can never fight with that, right? Do you realize, I don't know if people realize that we call it sin tax. Every year when they do the budget speech, if you look, the taxes on snacks and alcohol keep rising. We're paying close to 40% in just taxes for the snacks, the unhealthy food, for the alcohol, and that keeps going up every single year. But the people don't care. I'd rather pay less on my medical aid or on my school, whatever, savings policies, because the alcohol keeps rising up. They call it sin tax, and they know people are not watching. I'm going to have my alcohol, whether there's food in the fridge or not. You understand? Because they understand the psychology that goes with drinking. They understand the escapism or whatever, the social belonging, the marketing industry, the capitalist system. They understand that very well. So that's why I say this is a much bigger conversation. What I always ask, can you, number 1, afford it? Number 2, is it resourceful? Do you continue being resourceful when you're doing that? Or is it taking away too much that you cannot afford to keep paying? That's the reality. At what cost are you doing this? And once people realize that, maybe the conversations can be different. 500 Rand for a bottle of spirits or whatever it is, every week, it's how much? It's 2,000 Rand times 12 months, right? How much is that relative to the means that you have? Let's start having those conversations. When you've been out the whole weekend drinking and spending, is your partner happy with that? Are your children happy with? Is your family proud of you? Maybe some people drink and they lose self-respect, reputation. Do you see? That's now counting the cost.
And Sedi, sometimes even like Phuti says that even with the syntax, it might go up, but people still continue to consume the alcohol. I mean, like you said at the beginning, I suppose, of our conversation is that there's something that is always being masked when it comes to, buying the alcohol, and no matter what the financial pressure may be, the alcohol will be bought.
Yes, absolutely. And that is the cost, again, that comes to the surface, isn't it? We're finding that people will want so desperately to fit in. People will so desperately want to say, I'm not abusing alcohol, I'm actually enjoying. And here we come to indulgence or over-indulgence. And then I also want to bring in another aspect, really speaking to the this event that said this about alcohol. Why is it the only culprit it sounds? In fact, there are many culprits. Again, those not so obvious. Yes, Phuti is right. They are socially acceptable. It's okay. You can drink. You can actually come back home at 2 in the morning or after 2 in the morning. We can do that on a daily basis. But what is at stake? What is it? What are you foregoing? Also, there's an aspect of other misuses, including binge watching, other syntax objects like your smoking, like your drugs. And these, except for the binge watching, these go along nicely with the nightlife, don't they? And shopping goes along with the nightlife, because if I'm going to be out in the club, I better look the part. Again, going into what are we actually crying for? What is the scream about? What do we want to satisfy? So the question is a lot bigger than just being comfortable with I'm not abusing alcohol. It's beyond that. It is about the cost of time, opportunity cost in every aspect that you can imagine it. In fact, I think let's just put it there, because that is a lot more encompassing when you look at opportunity cost.
Let's take another call from Stembiso. Stembiso, good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon, and good afternoon to your guests.
Yes.
Yeah, I really like the conversation because the conversation is focusing on individuals and it's talking about the cost. Because, saying do not drink, it's bad for you, it doesn't do anything. But I think if you're talking about the cost, then it might, sink in to individuals. and I say individuals, because I've been talking to a friend who is working for one of the breweries in KwaZulu-Natal. His position is government license officer. And we talk a lot about, regulation, how it gets manipulated. I mean, this whole thing about syntax, like I agree with you that people don't feel it. People just, pay. They don't even ask questions about it. And he also talks about how they are tightly regulated. And in looking at why they are regulated, it's really about controlling them so that they give more money to the fiscus. So it's a very big brewery, but they get their license renewed on annual basis. And each year they must show as to how much money they spend on programs, supporting the Department of Social Development, the NGOs they fund for alcohol, which is, very sort of contradicting because they must fund them, but they must control what they say to them. And the money that goes to political parties, right? So if there is a change of minister, premier, or whatever else, they know that they'll be getting a call for a meeting. So basically the system, the government, the regulation and whatnot, is not going to change the situation for ordinary people, for individuals. And I really like the approach of focusing on the individual for behavioral change.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, Stembiso, out in Durban. And that's very important, isn't it, that each person must look at the issues that they are facing, Sedi. And I want to start with you, that how can people realize that they've got an alcohol problem, and how can they then say, well, it's affecting, if someone feels that they do have an alcohol problem, how do they resolve it, first of all? And perhaps what void could they be trying to close by the amount of alcohol that they're drinking? How would you advise them in going about closing that particular void, but also making sure that, they cut down, if not stop completely?
Very nice question, and thank you for your comment. You're quite a loaded comment there, Timbi.
Absolutely.
The matter of people wanting to stop, it's important that they first realize that there is a need. So awareness is very important. You need to be aware that indeed, while I may not spend as much, I may not be thinking that I spend so much money there, I'm spending so much more than just money, and maybe money in other aspects as well, like the clothes and the food and the whatever else, the transport to get there and so forth. But when you're rethinking fun and thinking about it and being honest about it and thinking that I blew it concept, if it leaves you broke, drained, or hungover, is it really fun? But then beyond that, there's a part of becoming true with yourself and saying, do I actually enjoy what I'm doing, or am I actually pressured to do it, or what am I escaping? How to reframe it? You need to start shifting from thinking what people will think to what actually brings me the joy, to what actually brings me the peace. Also thinking about what people will think will force you to explore your relationship with yourself in society, in the social circles that you want to belong in. So what does belonging look like for you? What does it mean? Do you feel a lot more valuable when so-and-so approves of you, when you've got so many people that hang out with you, and maybe even so-and-so and this other one as well with their names, that hang out with you, that regard you as the person, the man, the girl. Also explore fun as restoration, not just stimulation. It's important for people to look at what it means to have fun. Is it really about these stimulants? But what also are they doing to my body? Not only do they impact on my financial well-being, but what are they doing to my body? You know that neuroscience reveals that these stimulants also can alter our brain. They can alter the design, the look of your brain, and obviously the functioning of your brain. And ultimately, a person was to make a decision to say, look, I want to redefine fun as something that leaves me feeling fulfilled, not drained. I don't want to feel guilty at the end of the day. So a lot of self-reflection, a lot of reflecting and conversations with self, with a trusted coach, with a mentor, or even a counselor can help you to reframe and redefine what fun looks like.
Phuti, before we wrap up our conversation, but also before we take a call, I just want to find out from you, for you as well as a financial resilience strategist, what advice would you give to a family that may realize that the amount of alcohol that they are buying on a monthly basis is actually leaving them broke and that they are unable to even do the basics of perhaps topping up on groceries during the month?
Yeah, a lot of the coaching eye or the perspective is what Sedi covered. It's a deeper conversation, right? Get help, number one. But 3 steps easy. This is the awareness. Sit down and do the numbers, do the maths. This is how much we're spending on alcohol. And I know now these days when you're buying your groceries, you can somewhat put in the alcohol because all the retailers have an alcohol outlet next door. Separate that, right? Go back 3 months, 6 months, and just see how much is that costing you, right? 1. 2, substitute. Sedi mentions it. What else can you explore that does not involve going out, buying this much alcohol, if you can? What can you, whatever helps you have fun in a more sustainable way, consider that, right? And then thirdly, accountability. Get someone who is going to check in with you, who you're going to give updates for this new a new habit that you're bringing in. Involve your family. If it's affecting your family, involve your kids, man. In all my coaching, I always say, especially when it comes to money, have your children be your accountability partners. Because if all the basics are in place, children don't care that you're a CEO at work or whatever. They'll tell you, Mommy, that's wrong. Mommy, the other day you said this. Use them. Make it a family thing. Announce to your friends to say, guys, I realize I've been spending a lot on alcohol. That's being honest. That's being transparent, right? I will no longer be able to afford to go out with you 4 times. I can do once a month or once a quarter. That's being honest and being real, true to yourself. Sedi mentioned it. Emotional intelligence is a very big topic, okay? But unless you're prepared to be honest with yourself first, you're just going to go around in circles. And 10 years later, you'll still be in the same position. So it's awareness, 1. 2, find substitutes if you can. And 3, accountability. That is very important. And 4, environment is much more powerful than willpower. If you can't handle the pressure, find a new circle that supports your goals now. You've got to do it. You have got to find a circle that is now aligned to what you want. Otherwise, you can't change. You can't want to just say, no, I'm just hanging out, I'm going to the club. You're just setting yourself up for failure.
Sure.
Move away from that.
I want to take a quick call. Kada, you've got literally 20 seconds, please, so that we can wrap up our conversation. Good afternoon.
Awesome leaders. What are the chances? We all we were told about the good principles for living. I was just wondering, for instance, the issues of condom, HIV, we were told about those things, but there are people who are going to catch HIV today, whilst they know there's a way around it. So I'm just wondering now, what are the chances that maybe the messages we are putting out there for the community are too sophisticated for us? Maybe we should think about maybe dumbing down the message in such a way that it resonates with the people on the ground. Because today, Mogodu Monday, a lot of people are going to drink and they'll be late for work tomorrow.
Sure. Well, that's an interesting one, Kada. Thank you so much. Sedi, in 30 seconds.
I'll try. Very powerful, very necessary question as well. Some people may feel that this is quite layered and quite filled and end. But what works is real talk. This is real talk.
Mm-hmm.
These are the conversations that people shy away from. It's like me and my family don't necessarily want to talk about arranging plans for my funeral when I die. It's that kind of conversation. So real talk proves no friendship.
Absolutely.
And in 20 seconds, I think that's the best.
Thank you, Sedi. Appreciate it. And thank you to you too, Phuti. Thanks, ladies, for your time indeed and for unpacking this very interesting topic for us this afternoon. Phuti Mphelo is a business coach and financial resilience strategist. Sedi, Mmamasedi, Manthoko is a leadership coach, as we spoke about the effects of alcohol and how it has an effect on your life as well financially. On X, Professor Tshego says, last year SAB made 1 billion rand between Christmas and New Year's Day. That says a lot about us, indeed. And Pastor Tay says, when I just want to add and ask them to read Proverbs 20 verse 1 only before drinking. And just to quickly give you that verse, it says, wine is a mocker, strong drink is a brawler, and whoever is led astray by it is not wise. That's from Pastor Tace. But that's how we end off Power Lunch this afternoon. Thank you so much, Power family.